Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside Government, a public affairs program brought to you by Cuyahoga Community College and broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon, Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, better known as ARMA, as well as Win 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. It is the start of a new school year across the country. Public schools in this state have been open for roughly a month now, after 2 years where they've had to deal with COVID and the impacts that has had on education. The Auburn Large School District is no different, and we're delighted to have back in the studio Auburn Superintendent of Schools Jeff Pirozzolo to give us a district update. Over the next half hour, we'll talk about the start of the new school year, where the district is in its most recent capital campaign, capital plan, sorry, they're not raising money that way. We'll talk about Gobble and Go, a fundraiser for the Auburn Education Foundation, as well as have the Auburn Maroons change their name. Welcome back.
Mr. Cosentino, thank you for having me. And again, I've slipped down to number 2, right?
It is you and the mayor in a race to the finish here.
Yeah.
So we like you both, and we enjoy having you both the same first week. So start of a new school year. How has it gone at the start?
Well, I'll tell you, Guy, what a difference the start of this year compared to the last 2 years. I mean, just so much excitement. Kids, the first day of school, first of all, being able to see their faces, right?
Right.
Was just huge for us. The excitement, not only from the kids, but the staff as well. You know, it takes you back to pre-COVID. There was just so much excitement, and, you know, it was great seeing people fist bump each other. And
well, you were out there. I was at Herman Ave, the first day of school. You're out welcoming kids, children.
Walking them to class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making sure they get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great because even people were hugging. You know, that was great to see. You know, that's something that really has been missing is, you know, that compassion piece and being able to, you know, reach out to kids and really in all areas, not just being able to verbalize, but actually showing emotion through body language.
I do want to get into COVID and how it's impacted schools, or if it's still impacting schools. But any bumps in the road, a month in?
No, you know, we get our sporadic cases, just like probably every school.
No, I meant process-wise. Schools are all set. You've got everything's normal.
Yeah, we have. There's no guidelines that we are following. Again, you know, the things that we are doing is we're continuing to do a lot of disinfecting at night.
Okay.
So a lot of deep cleaning at night, just trying to
How
keep
about
everything.
non-COVID related? Any challenges on that front?
The only issue we're dealing with is transportation, which I know we'll get into.
Well, I mean, so busing, I remember last year, I think for every year, for the last couple of years, you have had, if there's not a political sign on the lawn, there's a sign for the bus contractor you use looking for employees. Are you still having a problem getting bus drivers?
Yeah, we are. We still have a bus shortage for drivers. And actually, there's a robocall going out at 4:30 today to the community just to keep them informed.
Asking them to apply? Or
Yeah, no. And again, please, anyone that would like to apply, please apply to be a bus driver.
So I was with some employers this morning, and they're just telling me it's tough keeping employees in because of, you know, somebody gets the flu or something like that. But at the same time, it's trying to recruit people. Is it people? I mean, I don't think that a bus driver is an easy job. I think it's a very hard job.
Very difficult.
Is that why you don't have bus drivers, or is it because of other issues? It's just the market.
Well, I think it's multiple issues, right? You know, since we've come out of COVID, we have seen a shortage of workers, and you know, a bus driver is a very challenging job. And you know, when you have a lack of bus drivers, now you're doubling the bus runs, so now you've got double the number of kids on the buses. But the bus to get the certification, to get your CDL license, is very difficult to get.
So yesterday, you have a new principal at Herman Ave.
Correct.
Delightful. We'll talk about staff changes in a few minutes. But I know she sent out an email, which I think is the format to, if it's not a robocall from you, it's an email from her saying a bus line was going to be running late. So are you are we still going to be able to operate school? Because last year you had a problem at one point where you had to switch some things for the middle school next door and the high school. Are you worried about that right now?
No, I'm not. We're not at that point right now. Our issue is like in the morning runs, we're fine. We have enough bus drivers. The afternoon runs, though, become more complicated because we have buses coming in and out of BOCES now. Most of our BOCES programs, the kids come to school, then the buses take them. But now we've got to send buses to BOCES to get the kids to get them back to school, which throws off our bus schedule.
Does that mean you may have to revisit that?
Well, it's not just that. It's our sports schedules. It's our after, because we do have, at the junior high and the high school, we have an extended period. So that adds bus routes as well. So we have so many more afternoon routes than we do in the morning. That's why we're having the issues in the afternoon.
So let's go back to the COVID. I don't want to concentrate on a lot of this, but just a couple of things on procedural wise. So the president was on 60 Minutes about 2 weeks ago, and he said, the pandemic is over. I'm paraphrasing his 60 Minutes. As far as you're concerned, is COVID over?
Pandemic's been over in our district pretty much since last year. We tried to move on. We wanted to get as much normalcy as we could, get the kids excited about coming back to school. So yes, in that area it is, but we're still cautious, right? Because we don't want to take a step backwards.
So let's talk about vaccinations. We're going to now currently nobody is required to be vaccinated, staff or students. Am I correct on that?
Correct. Nor were they last year.
Okay. Do they have to wear masks?
So the only time a mask has to be worn is if you're in days 6 through 10 of actually having COVID. So if you come down with COVID, you do have to stay out of school for 5 days. And then once you return, you must wear a mask for days 6 through 10.
And what about bus drivers? Not to get back into the busing issue. I know public transportation has changed the rule. The governor changed the rules. But do bus drivers for the district have to wear masks?
No, they do not.
Okay. So back to this. So right now, I think parents are waiting with bated breath in some cases for the Omicron version of the vaccine for 5 to 12-year-olds. I think you can get the
boosters.
The boosters. So once that comes out, and I think people are saying almost any day now, will the district be offering clinics for that?
So usually what we do is we work with the health department. The health department will reach out to us when they have their supply, and we will work along with them for any parent who wishes to have their children with a booster. We will provide our buildings to allow.
So you may have general booster sessions where the gym is closed off for 3 hours and they bring every K, then every first, every second, etc. down. And if parents have allowed this.
Right, we did it in all of our elementary buildings last year when it came out for 5-year-olds. We had a day where parents could come with their child during the school day to have the vaccine done. We would do anything like that. We work in partnership with the health department. And again, not that our students have to have the booster. That's if the parents really wish to have their.
But you would encourage parents to get the booster.
Absolutely.
So they feel
anything
safe.
Anything to keep kids safe and our staff safe. That's what we're all about.
Okay, so we have a couple of viewer questions, and these are always my favorite. So New York City has determined that there will be no snow days because if COVID taught us anything, we can work remote.
That's great for New York City, and keep it New York City. When it comes down to snow days, snow days are exciting. Kids wait for this. So do the staff. let me be honest.
We'll get to those. Those are some other questions that most likely we're not going to have that much humor for you. So we want to continue to have our snow days like we've always traditionally done. We will continue that. The only time that we would look at doing a remote day is if we use up all of our snow days. Okay. Then, of course, we would have no other choice. So does every student now have a Chromebook that they take home?
So all of our secondary students take their Chromebooks home, 7 through 12. Elementary, 6th grade and 5th grade, if they need to take them home. The lower grade levels, we do keep them at our school. But if we see this coming, we can always send the kids home with them.
So I mentioned you've got a new principal.
Yep.
Over at Herman. You've made some leadership changes. I want to say is it at 4 of the 5 elementary schools at this stage?
Three of the 5.
So what are you doing?
So Mr. Gorney, who was the principal at Herman, has now gone over to Owasco. Mrs. Garback, who was at Casey Park, has now gone over to Herman Avenue. And we hired a new principal, Jeanette
And a new
Mastrito,
assistant.
and a new assistant principal,
Who
too.
I met the other day.
Yes,
So.
and they're both over at Casey Park. Dr. Braxton.
So this has occurred. So in the case, let me talk about Dr. Gorney for a second. Owasco was somewhat, it's been well publicized, not a secret. It's a little bit of a revolving door when it came to,
yes.
Is putting Dr. Gorney there, the idea that that revolving door stops now.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. We wanted some consistency. Again, our teachers have been asking for consistency. Mr. Gorney's been with us since 2004. He's not going anywhere. So we thought, you know what? Let's get somebody over there that knows the Auburn way, give some more consistency. Again, teachers know Dr. Gorney as well. So bringing him over.
So that's how I know him, because I have a 10-year-old who calls him Dr. Gorney. He's not calling Mr. So any other management changes at this particular stage for the district?
For principals, that was pretty much it. No changes in my office.
Okay.
So we're running smooth there. Again, we've seen a lot of teacher shortages. You hear about the shortages across the state. We've been very, very fortunate this year.
So you're not having shortages?
We've got 2 unfilled positions still. A secondary special education position, which is one of the most difficult positions to fill. We're still looking for that. So that's posted right now. And we're looking, we have a final interview for an elementary teacher, which was a late retirement. So Sarah Capelli is going to be doing that interview.
That's your assistant superintendent.
Our assistant superintendent for personnel.
I know one retirement that you're not looking forward to is coming up at the end of this, not this calendar year, but the end of the academic year.
Correct.
Is a good friend of ours, Elisa Green, who's the business manager. Her plan, I believe it's more than public. I hope it is, because if it isn't,
it is now.
It is now. She is going to retire at the end. She was with the Auburn, the city of Auburn, and then she moved over to the district. So she is leaving at the end of this, after your new budget gets approved.
Correct. She'll go probably in July of 23.
And what will be your process for replacing her? Not that she is replaceable.
She is definitely not replaceable. But what we'll do is we'll probably post both ways. We'll probably post administratively and through civil service.
And we will hopefully have her in May
yes.
to talk about the budget.
Yes, absolutely.
I know her favorite.
She loves to be on the show, too.
So another viewer question. When the district schedule came out, a number of parents of elementary school aged children were surprised at the number of half days for the district, including days for working on report cards and half-day parent-teacher days and training days. Why all these half days?
So a lot of it's contractual. They're built into the teacher's contract. So we always have done half days for parent-teacher conferences because we do a day and a half of those. So I believe on Halloween will be a half day for the kids. The afternoon is for parent-teacher conferences, and so is the whole next day. So that's the reason for those half days.
So I know, for example, I know you're familiar with Port Barn. You're married to somebody.
Yeah, I am.
I know in Port Barn they close down Thanksgiving Monday and Tuesday, and they do all that. So a parent can plan that whole week. So the question that I'm getting, that this is leading to, is the viewer question is, wouldn't whole days be easier from a child care? Isn't it more parent and family friendly?
Yeah, and again, we feed about 65% of our children, breakfast, lunch, and a lot of them dinner. So, having kids in for half days for us, I know my kids are getting breakfast and they're getting lunch on the way home. So, for us, our communities are a little bit different. Port Byron, Wheatsport, Auburn.
But you can see where a parent would say,
absolutely.
These half days are a nightmare.
Absolutely.
Where at least if I know I got to take a full day of work.
Right. No, and I understand.
And I say that with people in this community who may, have part-time jobs or, are, hand to mouth sometimes.
Right.
And that shaking that up shakes up their work
Yeah,
schedule.
and we know the issues with daycare. We even got our own initiatives. We put out some grants to increase our daycare so that we could have more daycare in our schools for days like that. We want to be because that's a problem for some of our parents, we want to be the solution. So we did reach out for a grant that we did not receive, but we're going to apply for it again so that hopefully we can set up those daycare spots throughout our elementary buildings so that we really can create a solution for that issue. But, it goes back to snow days. A lot of school districts are closed down on snow days. I'd much rather do a 2-hour delay because even though I'm doing a 2-hour delay, I still know that our kids are going to come in and we'll still have breakfast for them, lunch and dinner.
So forgetting lunch and dinner for a second, if you do a 2-hour delay or you do a half day, you get a full day of state aid.
You can't do anything more than a 2-hour delay.
Okay.
If we do a 2-hour delay or a 1-hour
so
delay.
it is in the district's best interest to be open.
Correct.
From a budget, I'm being blunt.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, let's shift gears. I'm not going to talk about Omicron. I'm going to talk about a scrambled word called Micron.
Okay.
For the last 48 hours, the news has been consumed by a chip factory announcement in Clay. How do you, as an educator, as somebody who is dealing with the challenges of a district, how do you think that will impact Auburn?
How many jobs did they say there were going to be created?
Yeah, it's an enormous amount over a 20-year period.
And again,
about 55 minutes from here.
Correct. And what does that mean for people moving into Auburn? We're hopeful that they come to Auburn and live. Great community to live in. As far as our space in our room, we have space and we have room. As you know, enrollment's been going down in districts.
So this is an opportunity.
I think it's a huge opportunity.
Do you see changes in how education is conducted and I'm talking more in the secondary area where you do more technology and other classes? Do you see the district reviewing that?
Yeah, and again, I think factory work, looking at different pathways. I work with Dr. Durant, and I
know he is getting a number of calls.
Yeah, and while we have a group of our staff members that work with his staff members as well, is creating these pathways from the high school level to the college level, and creating these opportunities for kids. I think this will help us expand those pathways. And again, I have a whole different philosophy on education. I believe education should be more pathways and getting kids out into the field while they're in high school for those experience and career exploration. I think it's a huge opportunity.
So shifting gears, we were going to have you, we normally do a budget discussion at the end of April, but I caught COVID.
You did, yes.
I did. It was not. But one of the questions that I had at that time was because the Auburn district was going through this all boys are blue controversy of the book. We're not going to get into what the book's about. But at that time, in the end, the district did vote to allow the book to stay on the shelves, correct?
Correct.
Has the district adopted any policy since then about how parents are involved in what books their children have access to?
Yeah. So we reviewed the policy and we made some amendments to the policy. We actually have a form now because again, we want parents to be part of their children's education, right? So we have a form that's online, or they can go and pick it up in the schools, and they can fill out the form. And if their parents do not want them reading a particular book, they can put that right on the form. We put it in our computer system.
Weren't the forms put in the packets to parents?
They were not.
But they were going to be.
They were going to be.
So who made the decision to pull them from the packets?
The board changed the language in the policy to upon request versus us mailing them out. So that's the change that happened. But those forms are right online. So any parent can go right to our website, find them online.
Are you getting many I'm not sure you pay attention to this. I'm sure you pay attention to a lot of stuff, but are you getting many people filling out these forms?
I have no idea, no answer for that question.
When you try to top Mayor Quill's attendance record, I'll ask you that question again. Three last things. Capital work that you've done. You've had a lot of capital work to be done, hardening the entrances for safety reasons at elementary schools. They look great. Been through now 3 of them for different reasons. And then air handling on that. Where are you on those projects? Are they all complete?
No, we're not even close.
Okay.
We still have a lot more work to do. So as you know, two summers ago, we did the 4 elementary schools. That was Casey Park, Genesee, Herman, and Owasco. We did those 4 as a focus because we had to secure those main entrances because Seward already had a secured main entrance. So those 4 buildings are now complete. We're still having some issues with the HVAC system that we have our experts looking into to make sure that we can get this corrected. This past summer, we did the HVAC work at Seward. What we have left there is they have to put the new univents in, but they've run all the piping. Everything's all set.
So what's left?
What's left is we have work at the high school. We're going to be doing all the branch piping at the high school. That will be this coming summer. The following summer, we'll be doing all the rooftop units at the high school. Those are the air pieces, the rooftop units that are there. And also the following summer, we'll be doing the junior high secured vestibule and their HVAC upgrades.
I'm assuming the hardening of these entrances is a high priority for you.
Absolutely
right now, from a
is.
safety,
Absolutely is.
and everything else on that.
What I love about the main entrances of our 5 elementary schools right now is you actually have to be buzzed in 3 times to actually hit the hallways of the school. Okay. So you get buzzed in the secure vestibule, then you got to get buzzed in the main office. Then you have to get buzzed out of the office to get in the hallway. So it gives us 3 layers of protection.
So at the end of 2 years from now, roughly 2 years, you will have gone through the full bond, the full capital project that had been approved by voters. When does the district start looking to the next bond issue?
Right now.
You are? Okay. So what's on your list for a wish list from 3 years from now?
So we do a thing called a building condition survey. It's called the BCS. Every school district in New York State has to do that every 5 years. So what we'll do is our architects will come in and they will do the BCS report. And what we do in that BCS report is we list our priority 1s, 2s, and 3s. And then we start to build our capital project off that. One of the big pieces will be HVAC for the entire building. As you know, we only had enough money to do partial pieces of. So I'm imagining that next capital project, the main priority will be finishing up those elementary buildings.
So let me talk about 2 fun things. Well, maybe one's fun. One's really fun. Gobble and Go.
Yes.
So first of all, for those who don't know, we're going to pop up the poster on the screen. What is Gobble and Go?
So we have a wonderful foundation in Auburn. It's
Auburn Education Foundation.
AEF. Okay. This is their main fundraiser for the year. What the AEF does is they provide grants to our teachers for projects that they want to do that's not actually funded through our budget. So our teachers
may not be able to,
right, because we don't have the monies available, even though we're working on that foundation aid, and we'll be getting into that more. But the AEF, they raise money so that our teachers can put in for these grants, whether it's getting drums in the music program. The AEF has also given us $25,000 for our innovation labs. They've done multiple things over the years. The Gobble and Go is one of their big fundraisers. It's a great time. It's on October 22nd.
It goes from 1 to 5.
Yep, from 1 to 5. And there's certain restaurants throughout Auburn that will be setting out different food tastings.
So I know because I run into you at this event. Because if I don't go, Janie Hutchinson will be chasing me down. But everything from Prison City Pub and A.T. Wally's and a number of other, and we're not going to. They're all on the poster, and you can go on the district website. But tell me about your experience there. What I know, you go with a group. You have a whole gaggle that you walk with.
I certainly do. And always a shout out to the Orlandos because they always have us at their houses after, so that we have a lot of fun there as well. But yes, it's great because we get our group of friends together. It gets us down in the community. It gets us intermixing with everyone there. It's a great social event. The food is fantastic.
So you can get anything from a tasting, and some people will sell you small drinks and things like that. And then it ends up at the Knights of Columbus.
The Knights of Columbus, and they put on a spread for us every year. They're fantastic.
And so how much does it cost?
It's $30 a ticket. And again, the food at the Knights of Columbus is worth all the money there. But you get so many different tastings at all these other restaurants.
So, I don't want to not be fair. So real quickly, A.T. Wally's, Good Shepherd's Brewing Company, Knights of Columbus, which you mentioned, Mesa Grande, Moondog's Lounge, Next Chapter Brew Pub, Parker's Grill, Prison City Pub, the Refinery, which is the Hilton Garden, their modern fare, Regenerations, Rudolph's Sugar Shack, who couldn't use more sugar after that, Three Leaf Tea, and the Zen Den Studio. And there's a silent auction there. And so the event goes from 1 to 5. But the Knights of Columbus goes from 4:30 to 6 p.m. And It's just a great time. And how do you buy tickets?
You can actually go on the website to the AEF website and order it there, or you can stop right in our district office. We have tickets right at the district office if you'd like to pick them up.
And do you have a limit to how many tickets you sell?
Yeah, there is a limit, and I couldn't tell you the number, but I'm sure we could go a little bit over if we had to.
It's a fun event.
It's a great event.
Rain or shine.
Absolutely great event.
So 2 last viewer questions. Football. Mm-hmm. Spectrum News recently broadcast one of Auburn football's games, and they called the team the Auburn Raiders. Has the team changed its name from the Auburn Maroons?
We have not changed our names, and other people's mistakes end up being.
Have you heard this before?
No, that's the first time I've heard that. No,
so apparently
we are the Auburn Maroons.
You are the Auburn Maroons, and I'm like, okay. And so the person said that. The other question, again on football, is several schools that you what level are you for?
Class A.
Class A. Their students have their names on their jerseys. Why does Auburn not have their names on their jerseys?
I think we're throwback, and I think we're like the old. I think that's just the way Auburn always has been.
So, the Yankees don't put their names on the backs.
Nope. Okay. I think there's a lot of teams that
do that
throwback.
Aaron Judge this week.
Yeah. No, I think I think that is the reason, is just because they like it like it's always been. It's very traditional.
Okay. I do want to say, because you said foundation age, somebody out there got bingo in the viewership, because I was trying to not use that phrase. It's like Groucho and You Bet Your Life. So our guest has been the superintendent of schools. We do want to talk about budget and items of financial, but we wanted to get you in here to talk about the district. Thank you for appearing. I hope you'll come back in a couple of weeks to give us another district update. We always enjoy having you in the studio, and we appreciate it.
Mr. Cosentino, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Our guest has been the superintendent of schools for Auburn, Jeff Pirozzolo. We'll be back in just a moment with Beyond the Front Page with Kathleen Cuddy, the Cuyahoga County's public health director, to talk about COVID. We'll talk about her department's efforts to get people vaccinated for the flu, as that is this time of year, and the recent spike in Owasco Lake of toxins that serves roughly 60,000 county residents. Next week, we'll start our annual series of election forums. Forums are planned for the new 24th Congressional District. Steve Holden, who we talked to yesterday, said he will be attending, but his campaign needs to confirm that. He is running against Congressman Claudia Tenney, who we have not heard back from yet. The new 48th Senate District with Senator Rachel May and Onondaga County Legislator Julie Abbott, they have both agreed and accepted our invitation. They'll be here. We're waiting to hear from Justin Carini, who is running on the conservative line, to see if he will be participating. And then there's 126th new Assembly District, and Bruce McBain, who is running against John Lamadas, has agreed to participate, and we're waiting to hear from Assemblyman Lamadas. But as past practice, Jeremy Boyer, the executive editor of The Citizen, will be asking the questions of the candidates. I will be moderating, and we hope you will join us next Thursday here in the studio as we start those. If a candidate accepts and their opponent does not, the candidate that accepts gets an hour to talk about their campaign and answer questions on a one-on-one interview. An hour. Think what you could do with that. We'd like to let you know that you can send your questions and thoughts for future guests if they're on Inside Government or be on the front page. You can send them to cozguytho@aol.com. Finally, and I mentioned this the other night, the Cuyahoga Community College family lost a longtime friend and employee this summer, Doug Brill, who was a graduate of Cuyahoga, was this department's chief engineer since 2005. And so for 16 seasons, he was the go-to guy, no pun intended there. He was the guy who made us sound good, not necessarily look good, but sound good. He fixed glitches wherever they came up. He taught hundreds, if not thousands, of students in this community. He's greatly missed by all of us. We're dedicating this season to his memory. He is missed. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cuyahoga Community College. We want to thank you for watching. Be safe and stick around for Kathleen Cuddy in just a moment. If I had known you were going to mention Foundation A, I would have brought it down.
That would have been great. Wow. So the big running joke, right, is I said, 'cause you never know what it's going to be. I said, yeah, you know what, you're right. So Ron Nettie.